Look at her, she is living her best life within the pages of a book, just like me. Today we're doing something very long overdue. We are giving my Kindle a makeover. I have the 10th generation Kindle. I think it's just a regular Kindle, it's not the Paperwhite, and I've had it for at least 4 years at this point, and it has been unclothed for the entire time, which is really sad. This poor baby has been unprotected, unclothed, unloved for the past 4 years, so it's finally time to show it some love. I'm going to decorate the case, and I'll show you how I did this lock screen as well and how I got the ads off my Kindle without paying Amazon. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for talking about this. I don't think I will, because there's like people on Reddit who talk about it. But yeah, if you're from Amazon, you do not perceive this. And then I'll also talk about some of the books in my Kindle library. I'll share some of the books that I have finished reading, some of the books that I am currently reading, and some of the books that I am going to read on my Kindle. I am going on a trip pretty soon, and it's gonna be quite a long trip with a lot of travel time. So I have been loading up my Kindle with books from the library and ARCs that I need to read. As my Kindle lock screen says, my library is between me and God. But in this video, you will get an exclusive peek into what I have on my Kindle. Also, if you don't know who I am, my name is Catherine, you can call me Kat, and I make cozy book and pop culture content here on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok for as long as TikTok will continue to be a thing. But until then, you can find me there. So yeah, let's finally show my Kindle some love. I got this clear case so I can put stickers behind it. I got this Kindle case background from Etsy. I can link the shop below. It's super cute. It's like laminated and everything, so it'll be a cute background for the stickers. I also got some stickers. This is a really cute one from Etsy. And then a sticker pack. I also went to Daiso and got these rhinestone stickers, which I think will be really fun for textural interest. And then I have a bunch of pop sockets, so I will choose one of these. And they're all interchangeable too. So I've already kind of planned out which stickers I want and how I want them to look in my case. So this is the layout that I have settled on, more or less. I went on quite the journey to get my lock screen set up, so I will show you how I did that. First thing you have to do if you don't already have a Kindle without ads is that you have to upgrade to a Kindle without ads. So you can pay Amazon $20 in order to upgrade this, or you can contact their customer service and ask them to do it for free. Sometimes they'll do it. The first person I contacted said no, and then I closed the chat and opened a new one, and that person said, okay, we'll do it just this once. All I did was ask nicely, and they were kind enough to do it for me. You can always try that route and see if it works for you. And if you search like how to do it, there are people on Reddit threads who have documented how they did it. But for me, it was pretty simple. It really depends on the customer service person you get and if they're willing to do it. They're also on the BDS pressure list. So If you can avoid paying Amazon money, you should. Now I'm going to show you how I made the lock screen and how I uploaded it into my Kindle and set it as lock screen. I followed a tutorial that I will link below from another YouTube creator. Her tutorial was really great. I created my lock screen on Canva. I selected the ebook template, which should be the correct size for your Kindle screen. And I just played around with the different elements available and made this. So it says, my Kindle library is between me and God. I had these little cowgirl elements, these little lasso hearts, which I thought were really cute. Look at her, she is living her best life within the pages of a book, just like me. And then I added this smoke effect as well, which is really pretty. So after you are satisfied with your cover, you're just going to download it as a PNG. The next thing you're gonna do is go to this site, Convertio. I will link this down below. Then you're gonna upload the file that you just downloaded and convert it to an ebook. So you're gonna select EPUB. And once that is finished, you will download this as well. And you're gonna go to this other site, which is riddled with ads, but it is free, so you can't complain. With this site, you're gonna upload the EPUB file that you just created. And then where it says choose image, you're gonna upload the PNG file that you created for your lock screen. You're gonna download this file, and then all you have to do is email the file to your Kindle email, or you can upload it to the webpage on Amazon.com where you can upload files into your Kindle. Okay, now that you have your EPUB file sent to your Kindle, all you have to do is open it, and it's gonna look really weird. I don't really know how to fix this part, but it doesn't really matter because all you have to do is close it, and now your lock screen is just the image that you selected as your cover for the EPUB file. So if you want this to be your lock screen instead of the cover of the book that you're reading, you just have to make sure to open this file before you close your Kindle. It looks so cute! I saw the girlies on TikTok were tying like little ribbons around their pop sockets, and I thought it was super cute, so. And I also really like the like little pearl stickers, the rhinestones that I have. I feel like when you see a Kindle case like this, it should be like a red flag. While I have you here, I want to show you some of the books in my Kindle library. I'm currently reading The Sympathizer. I am also watching the HBO show at the same time, so it's been really fun following along. I actually tried to read The Sympathizer many years ago, but it just felt like not the right time. I was going on a vacation and it didn't feel like a vacation read, but I am surprised by how funny it is. It is dark humor, but it is actually quite funny, and I think I understand the humor better now after having seen some of the episodes of the show because the humor really translates really well. I also love being able to imagine the main actor Hua Shande's voice as I'm reading the book, because the way he narrates it, even the kind of like affected American accent that he uses in the show, really translates really well when you're reading. I actually wish there was like an audiobook of him just narrating this book because it would be so amazing. The book is very non-linear and has a lot of flashbacks because all of it is kind of like stream of consciousness from the narrator, and they translate that very well to the show and the way that they tell the story. The show has also taken a lot of creative license with the side characters, especially all the characters played by Robert Downey Jr. Some of those characters are showing up in the text, but they're definitely quirkier and weirder in the show, and I really like his interpretation of the characters. And I also think it's quite funny that they have him play these 4 white characters who all represent different facets of American imperialism. And I also want to add that I really have appreciated how much the author Viet Thanh Nguyen has been so vocal about Palestine and so principled. It really shouldn't be refreshing to see a prominent Asian American figure talk about Palestinian liberation, but it is. And so I am really glad to see someone like that using their platform for Palestine and recognizing the inherent connection between Asian American liberation and Palestinian liberation. That's one of the reasons why I started watching The Sympathizer and why I picked up the book, very much enjoying both. I also want to talk about some of the books that I've recently finished. So one of them is Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. When I picked up this book, I originally thought there would be nodding involved. Because in her Instagram bio she put like not like K and then parentheses N-O-T, in love. And I had read her werewolf romance before this one, so I thought it was like the sequel, but I believe she's still working on that one. So I picked this up and then like 20% through I was like, wait, they're not werewolves, they're normies. And it's just a normie romance. There's no nodding involved. So I was a little disappointed, but it's okay. I actually enjoyed this one so much. I have read almost every one of her books except for her YA book. So I've seen the progression from her earliest book to this one, and her writing has grown so much, and I've come to really love how she explores trauma and kink in her books in a way that feels really organic and natural to the story, and I think that's actually very difficult to do. So Not in Love is about two people on different sides of a hostile takeover of a biotech company, and they have difficulties. The woman in particular has difficulties expressing herself emotionally. So a lot of the ways that they negotiate their relationship to each other is through sex. And this trope, I feel like, is used a lot in romance books, and Not in Love did this in a way that actually felt like there was something deeper to the sexual scenes. I actually have to admit I'm still not the biggest fan of the way that she writes explicit scenes. However, I think that they serve a purpose, and I think that they do show how the characters relate to each other, how they grow, how they learn to trust each other, and I like that she emphasizes the trust aspect of that. The ending did make me tear up a little, I won't lie. It was really touching. I greatly enjoyed this. Another book I finished recently is This Is Why They Hate Us. This is a YA book, and I actually found out about this book because the author has been so vocal about Palestine, supporting Palestinian writers, and one of the love interests in this book is Palestinian. And even though it's a YA book, it is written with a lot of care towards the Palestinian identity of that character and the struggles that he in particular faces as a teenager who is Palestinian growing up in the US. So the main character of this book is a very chaotic, bisexual, Mexican-American teenager. He is just figuring out his sexuality. He is in love with his best friend Salim, who is the Palestinian character. Salim is not in love with him back, so he tries to get over Salim by having other romantic prospects, other guys, and he's really trying to explore this particular side of his sexuality. It is a really fun summer read full of heart. There were a lot more explicit scenes in this than I would have expected for YA, but it is because this is a teenager exploring his sexuality in that way. I didn't feel like any of it was like gratuitous or like it was inappropriate for a YA, but if you are not expecting that, just so you know. There was so much to love about this book, but as I was reading this, I was like, I wonder how my life would have changed if I had had access to books like this when I was a teenager or a preteen, like growing up. It was really wonderful to see a bisexual teenager, to see multiple bisexual teenagers of color being represented in this book. And I also really love the relationship between the main character and his parents, who are, you know, they're imperfect, but they try really hard. And it is really nice to see a BIPOC immigrant family be so accepting and loving towards their queer son. Like that is a story that we don't really get. So I really love this book. Another book that I read recently is Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands, which is the sequel of the first book. And I have to say this was even better than the first book. It was so good. If you haven't read Emily Wilde, it is about this fairy researcher, Emily, and she has this academic rival, Wendell, and he is also the love interest, so it's like rivals to lovers, and she suspects that he is a fairy. That's kind of the premise of book one. I've been struggling really hard with romantasy books lately because usually it feels like the world building is not really there, and I think that is what makes a difference between a mediocre romantasy book and a really fun, really great one. And Emily Wilde, in my opinion, has really great world building. It isn't too dense, but it is really immersive. But I am already so sad that the third book won't be out until next year. I am so addicted to these books. They're just like a parcel of joy for me. Another romance I've read recently is Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto. I believe this was also a Raylo fanfic. I also didn't realize that Julie Soto wrote The Auction, which is that Germani fic that was really, really popular a while ago. But her published books have been Raylo fics. I read her previous one as well. That one was pretty good, but I like this one even more. It is about a violinist and a cellist who are rivals, kind of, and they have this really explosive chemistry. They make a lot of music together. They also, I don't know if you see this like hand necklace thing going on here, but this very scene on the cover is in the book, and it is what you would expect and more. I had a lot of fun with this book. It was very, very readable. I read it in like 2 days. Also, another thing that I think is really funny about all these Raylo fics that turn into published books is that on the cover, it is clearly Adam Driver. I feel like Adam Driver should be getting paychecks for all these books. Like, they're using his likeness to sell these books. But I digress. I also finished Aphrodite and the Duke. This is a Bridgerton-inspired historical romance where there are characters of color and they just are there. It's not really explained, just like in Bridgerton. This was written after Bridgerton came out, so it is very, very inspired by the show. As I was reading it, like the Queen and everything, like it was very, very much from the show, and that was really fun. I kind of read like Bridgerton fan fiction, which is already fan fiction of the original book series. This was a fun read. I felt like the chemistry between the main characters was okay, but there was a lot of drama, which was fun. If you just love Bridgerton, the show, and you wish that there were books that had characters of color in Regency romance and the Bridgerton original books are just not doing it for you because you just wish they were more diverse, I think this is a good series to pick up. If you're looking for historical romance with diverse characters, I really recommend anything by Diana Quincy. She is a Palestinian author, and she writes books with Palestinian characters in Regency England, which are really, really great. And her books actually convinced me that I could be into historical romance. Before I read Diana Quincy, it was hard for me to find historical romance where I wasn't really, really angry at the man for whatever reason, or like wanted to rip my hair out because the man won't go to therapy, which I know that really didn't exist back then, but still. And I really love how her heroines are so strong and independent. A lot of them have jobs, which is like really refreshing. I know it may not be like super historically accurate, but I do like historical romance as kind of like this fantasy world like Bridgerton. Another one I would recommend is A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall, and this has a trans woman character, and this one was really, really wonderful. I really love this one as well. I would say that A Lady for a Duke had one of the more meaningful emotional connections that I've read in historical romance. In A Lady for a Duke, the main characters used to be best friends, and then one of them dies on a battlefield but actually transitions as a trans woman while their best friend thinks that she's dead, but she's not. But it is so full of angst, it's so full of pining, and because they have this best friend relationship before things turn romantic, it is really, really sweet. It is one of my top historical romances that I would recommend to anyone. Moving on to books that I haven't read yet but have loaded onto my Kindle in anticipation of reading them on my trip. The first one is Martyr. I have heard a lot from my mutuals about this book. Everyone has said they really enjoyed it. I don't actually really know what it's about, so I will read the blurb. A newly sober orphan son of Iranian immigrants, guided by the voices of artists, poets, and kings, embarks on a remarkable search for a family secret that leads him to a terminally ill painter living out her final days in the Brooklyn Museum. This seems super weird. I read one page and the prose was already really great. I am really excited for this one. I also have some arcs on here. One of them is The Friend Zone Experiment by Zen Cho. Zen Cho is one of my favorite authors. I really, really liked their book Black Water Sister. It was about this lesbian girl whose grandmother dies and then her grandmother comes and haunts her. The Friend Zone Experiment is their first rom-com. They usually write fantasy, so I'm really excited to see where they go with a rom-com. I am always excited for when authors I like venture into romance. I think every author should write a romance. Why not? Give the people what they want. Lastly, I have the new Wakey Wang arc for Rental House. This is her newest book, and chemistry like changed my life. As someone who studied science in undergrad and then decided that path was not for them, chemistry made me feel so seen, and I just really love her writing in general. I think she is so clever. Her writing can be so dry but also so tender at the same time. It can make you cry and then laugh on the same page. I'm really excited. I actually have not read her second novel, Joan is Okay, so that one's on my TBR, but I don't have it, so I might just read Rental House since I do have it. but I am sure it will not disappoint. I also have some fanfics in here, but I don't know if anyone wants to hear me talk about that. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books, and I will see you next time.